Hi there. Well, you joined me back in the shop today, and I'm going to be taking apart the Holley 4-port carburetor. I noticed the other day it's been working okay, and we've had the boat out on the water a few times, which is really good. But I noticed the other day I was just going to do a bit of tuning on it, and I noticed there was a little bit too much fuel being pushed through, even when the pump was off. So it looks like it's over pressurizing, and somewhere in there's either a gasket that's leaking or the float needs adjusting. But I figured it's a good time to get a carburetor rebuild kit, and we'll give it a go and see if we can take this thing apart and get it refurbished. So here we go. Okay, so this is the Holley carb. As I said before, when I noticed there's a bit of a flickering light, hopefully you can't see that too much on the video. What I noticed the other day was that there was just a little bit too much fuel still being pushed through in here once the carburetor had been turned off, once the engine had been turned off and the electronic pump had stopped. So I think there's probably some sort of leak in here. One thing I want to make sure is that this is set up properly. We don't want excess fuel being pushed into the pots. Could be a fire hazard or could cause further damage to the engine. So what I'm going to do is just go through and basically put a rebuild kit on. Move that to one side. Now, I contacted Summit Racing, and they actually have the rebuild kits for this carb. So let's see what we've got in the box here. Okay, lots of packaging, and there's our rebuild kit, and obviously the sticker. So, okay, so high performance trick kit, and it's for the Holley carb. Hopefully it's for this model, it should be. And in the box there, we've got everything we need to rebuild this carb and make sure all the gaskets and needles and things are set properly. So I'm going to set all that to one side. First thing we're going to do is start to strip down the carburetor itself. So the first thing, I'm going to take the fuel intake off. I'm going to take the choke setup off. This one's an electronic choke. You can see it on there. So get all that taken off, and then we'll start to work our way into the carb. Probably start by taking this top plate off, flip that over, and let's have a look inside on the internals. So first thing, let's grab some wrenches and we'll start taking this apart. Okay then, so first one I'm going to do is take this one off. So that's not a 14. That one looks like it's a 5/8. Okay, here we go then. So just going to back these off. Don't want to put too much pressure on them. Which way am I going? That way. Oh, that one's on there nice and tight. Oh, there we go. That moved both, so I'm going to have to get an adjustable on there. I don't want them both to move, just one at a time. Otherwise it will twist the pipe and we run the risk of actually breaking that fuel pipe. There we go, that's better. We'll just back that one off a little bit. Okay, and we'll do the same this side. Just one against the other. There we go, a little bit tight, but came off nicely. Let's take that just out of there. There we go. And what we'll do, just set this to the side. So that's looking okay. Set that to one side. Okay, right, next, let's take this automatic choke off. So these have little tiny star-shaped, hex-shaped, and that's too big. Let me go and grab some smaller tools and we'll take those off. Okay, so a little small screwdriver there, and they're not particularly tight, so let's back these out, and we'll keep the screws to one side because I'm going to pop those. Yeah, it's quite a long one. Goes through this spacer here as well. So I'll take these out, and then we'll put those back through the carburetor, the choke assembly, so we don't lose them. Okay, that one doesn't need to come off there because that's only attacking that plate. So it looks like, there we go, there's another one. If we get these long ones out, yeah, there we go. So one of the spacers has just dropped out. If we get these out, we should be able to just pull this automatic choke off, electronic choke off. Wrong one. Goodness me. There we go. Okay, right, so that's now loose You can see these spacers are starting to fall off, and we've got a little clip that's holding it onto the bracket here. So I'm wondering if we can just pop that out of there. Let's grab a flat-headed screwdriver. There we go. And can we pull that back through? Usually we can. Let's have a look. It seems to be going through some sort of rubber spacer there. Not sure what that is. Oh, there we go. Okay. Right, so let's just set that to one side. So you can see we've got these long bolts here. There's the one that I already pulled through, which goes into that one. And on those are these spacers that conveniently dropped into there so we don't lose them. And I'll just pop those back on there, and again set it to one side. One of the things I don't want to be doing is trying to look up how to put it back together because I've lost half the bits. So just keep everything together. Okay, so there we go. That's the choke off, so that's clear. We've got the fuel rail off. The next thing I want to do is just take this top plate off. We should be able to withdraw the whole thing, and then we can have a look into the top of the carburetor and see what's going on in there. So this one's a slightly bigger, star-shaped. I'm sure there's a, I don't know if they're Torx. I know you get different types of these, so I don't want to call it something if it's not. So I'm going to stick with the good old-fashioned star-shaped. Pull those off there. Now, I could do this with an electric screwdriver, I guess, which would speed up the process, but it's always nice to feel if the screws are binding at all or if they're too tight, rather than snapping the heads off one of these, because again that will stop us completing the job, create a new problem for us, having to drill those back out and tap, and potentially wreck this carb and end up having to buy a new one, which I don't particularly want to do, and it's such a simple job to refurbish. Okay, there we go. So that's the top plate. So got all the screws out. We'll just check inside, make sure there's no screws going down through the pot. Looks okay. So I'm going to be replacing the gaskets, but let's just find a place where I can just get the screwdriver in a little bit, just to give this a little bit of an encouraged pop. Just get it to lift slightly. That'll be somewhere. Let's just have a look. And the good thing is that gasket's sealing that on nice and tight, so that is good. Bit of a space. Nope. Okay. Right. Maybe if I get a little hammer, we'll just see if we can tap something in. I certainly don't want to damage the casing. So yeah, we grab a little hammer, see what we can do. It still feels a little tight. I wonder if these are holding it down. So let's back those out. Okay, they undo fairly easily. So let's take both of those off. There's one on each side. I'm assuming this is some fuel regulator or filter. There we go. Okay, so you can see, so that's what shuts our fuel on and off. So closed and open. So we'll keep that to one side. Take this other one out. I don't know if this is actually related to why the top cover won't come off just yet, but we'll see. Let's just back that one out as well. Yep. Yep, there we go. So we'll keep those to one side. Okay. Right, back to our going to pry it open. No, she's still being held down quite hard by something. So what else have we got that we could take off? We've got the I don't know what those things are, bellows, something like that. It has to be something else that's holding this down. Okay, I don't see anything really obvious. Just following this around just to see if there's something there that's, potentially holding it down. Can't see anything. Let's give that a tap over on this side. Okay, so it's going in. I wonder if it's just, you see where the gasket's starting to pull apart. I wonder if it's just that the gasket is particularly tight. Seems like it's glued in there pretty solid. Okay, let's have a look. I'll put a wedge in there, take that one out of there. Doesn't seem to have dropped back down, so maybe it is just the gasket sealer they've put on here. Oop. This is where you need like 10 hands. See, this is starting to open as well. That's a good sign. Still seems remarkably stiff though. It's not what I would expect. Okay, I wonder if that has anything to do with it. Do we need to back this off maybe? Is this putting pressure onto this plate which is holding the top down, which is why the side's coming up and the middle isn't? It doesn't look like that's going to unscrew, so I'm going to grab a pair of vice grips and we'll see if we can turn that. Okay then, so let's see if we get some vice grips on there. Just tighten them on. I certainly don't want them to slide around, which they're going to try to do just because it's so smooth. A little bit less. There we go. Well, there we go. So that was our problem then. So we've got a threaded rod that goes down, right down through the carb. I wonder if that will pop off now. Now that we've really, there we go. Okay, so that was the problem. So that rod was holding this top section, which was screwing it to the bottom section. So most of these carbs, I believe, I've done it with other types of 4-port carbs, and they generally have 3 sections to them. So this would be our top section. Let's see what comes up with it. Okay, let's flip that over. Right, so there's our float, which we expect. So as we saw before, we have these little valves in here that obviously come the other way over. And then as I'll just thread that back in. As the float comes up, it hits the piston in the valve and that shuts our fuel off. So either something was sticking in there, maybe we got some dirt or something, but we'll set that to one side for now. And then let's take a look inside the bowls. Well, that's not a good start straight away. So just use a screwdriver to point out. You can see here we have a lot of dirt and sludge, a little bit of residual fuel in there. But I would hazard a guess that this stuff is not really good for letting the carb and the float bowls do what they're supposed to do. So one thing we are going to have to do is clean these 2 float bowls out. I'm going to remove the rest of this gasket, what's left of it. It's a paper gasket, so it's just literally falling apart. So we'll use a knife to scrape that off. But that definitely will be a problem. In here we have the 2 needle jets as well on each side. So I will be removing those and we will just make sure they're reseated and that the ports are clean. So we'll be using some compressed air as well to just kind of push that through. So I guess the next step really is let's get this cleaned up a little bit before we move on to the next bit. Let's get the remains of this gasket out of there, just so we're not dealing with bits of debris falling into the carb while we're trying to clean it. So I'll grab a razor blade and we'll start to clean that off. You can see there where I popped the screwdriver in. That's why you've got to go so careful. So I'm assuming that was me. Okay, so all I'm going to do is use a razor blade just to gently, and again, not trying to gouge anything here. I just want to start to pull up the old gasket. So it'll take a little bit of work, but you can see it's coming up fairly easily. You just got to get the angle right to get underneath it, and it will start to peel away. And we can take off some of these big bits, and then just take the kind of glued surface and just use the razor blade to clean that away. So I'll do that for the rest of the surface here, and rather than keeping you on the line watching this, you can come back when I've completed it. Okay, so there you go. You can see I've got most of that gasket surface off. There's still a few tiny little bits there that are going to need cleaning up, but certainly all of that old gasket is away now. I will give this a final clean before we start reassembly, just because I want to make sure any of these little bits are out of the way so we don't end up with a gasket that doesn't sit properly. Okay, so the next thing I need to do is get this gunk out of here. I don't want it going any further into the system. So I'm going to use the air compressor and again, just move away from me because it's going to fire back at me. Just blow this out. Okay, so that one's pretty clean. Still some debris in there, so give it a little bit more. There we go. Okay, and we'll do the same with the other side. Okay, there we go. So that's a lot cleaner. Now, next thing I'm going to do is actually take these. I don't know what they're called. I'm going to call them trumpets for now. I'm going to take those off just so that we can get inside, and we'll give these pots a good clean as well. You've got a primary and secondary circuit. So this side here, where the smaller ones, these are our primary. So when you do your first throttle, that's the first part that goes. The throttle cable will come, it will pull it to a certain point. You've obviously got fuel coming in, a little bit of air, and that allows the car and the engine to run. As you throttle up and you push the throttle even harder, it opens the secondary, which are those big butterfly valves. Now you've got lots of fuel going through, lots of air, so the engine's going to actually rev up and go faster. So 2 circuits, primary and secondary, operated off the same throttle control, and they're linked in here as well. So part throttle, full throttle. Okay, and you'll notice this was moving as well. This is our fuel pump, so this allows the system to pump fuel, and what it's doing is sucking fuel out of these little ports here and pushing them through into the bowl itself. So let's get that cleaned out. We'll get these 2 undone and then move those to one side, the primary and then secondary, and then we'll give this another quick blow through. Okay, here we go then. Start off with the secondary and quite simply undo that grub screw and reset that to one side. These should lift off. See, there's a gasket there. We need to make sure we replace that when we put it back together. That'll be in our kit. Lift those out, and there we go. So you can see we've got 2 jets here, and they feed fuel. I don't know if you can see on the camera, but just inside here there are a number of little holes that actually squirt fuel through. So it kind of sprays it through, kind of like a garden sprinkler. So keep that to one side. That's one circuit. And then we'll take our primary. We'll open that one up. Do exactly the same thing. Take that out. There's our little gasket that's actually stuck to there, little washer. And lift the trumpets out, bellows, whatever you want to call it. Okay, and you can see we've got a gasket on there as well. So all of these things are going to need to be replaced. A little spring there, a little post that obviously pushes down on something. So I'm going to put that to one side, and that actually goes inside that screw. So I'm just going to pop that in there. Do we have one on the other one? Yeah, there's actually one on the other as well that didn't come out, didn't pop out. There it is. Okay, so keep those in those so we don't lose those. Okay, so next thing I want to do is take these jets out. Now, I want to make sure I don't get them mixed up, and the trick with these, because these are brass, is to make sure you've got a screwdriver that fits comfortably across both of the slots. Last thing you want to do is snap one of these slots off. That'll cause all sorts of problems. So, little bit of pressure. There we go. Now we just back that one out. Oh, there we go. Now what we're looking for is to look through and see if it's clear. It's reasonably clear. Now I'm going to keep these to one side. So I'm going to keep my secondary circuit over on the right hand side and my primary on the left hand side, so I don't get these 2 mixed up. I don't know if they're different or the same. We will find out. So tiny bit of pressure and just back that out. Oh, there we go. And that one's open as well. Okay, so pleased with those. Okay, you can do the same on the other side. little bit of pressure, back them out. That one's clear. And we'll do the same with this one. Okay, right. So that one's a little bit blocked actually. So good, we can give that a clean before we reassemble. Okay, what I'm going to do now, as I mentioned before, on these carbs, I've dealt with a lot of Rochester carbs. This one's a Holley. What I'm going to do is just separate now the base plate. There's usually a further separation point further down. Actually, I don't think this one has. No, it doesn't. This one doesn't have a separation plate. So we don't need to go that far, but that's good. So one of the things I want to do is flip it over. Let's get these fuel pumps, because we've probably got gaskets for those as well. So let's take these screws out and get this disassembled. That should just be resting on the top there. So again, we'll start, because I've turned it over now, our primary circuit is there, the smaller ones, and secondary over this side. So again, just want to keep all of our parts just so we're on the same side, they go back in the same place. There we go. Not particularly long, these screws, but let's just take these off. Now, there's a little valve on the inside on these as well, so give us the opportunity to clean that valve. Okay, you might have noticed they're a little bit difficult to pull through, and that's because the gasket is holding the threads. So there we go. That one seems a little bit easier. And the final one. Wonderful. Okay, there we go. So theoretically, that should pop apart. I don't want to force anything. There we go. Oh my word, look at the gunk in there. Am I glad we are cleaning this up. So this is old fuel, dirt, rust, and all of these things are going to be stopping that little rubber valve from sealing properly. And if that's the case, then it's not going to help the carb run. So my word, what a mess. Okay, we're going to get all this out. So let's just take the other one off. I'm assuming it's going to be just as bad. And we are going to have to just keep all these together. We're going to have to give this quite a blow through with the air compressor. Get all of this debris out of there. So this is where, even though this carb's been running nicely, it just wasn't sealing off properly and fuel was coming through when it shouldn't be and things like that. And that's all it is, just dirt, debris, fuel. This is probably the first time since the boat was manufactured that this carb's been taken apart. And bearing in mind the boat is 1996, that's quite a long time for a carb to be in one without having some sort of service. Okay, that one's not too bad. So, okay, pleased with that. So, right, before I go any further, I'm going to tip this to one side, just off camera, and get this blown out. I don't want any debris to go back into what we've just already cleaned. So let's get our air compressor set up. And, oh my word, better. So, that's one side. I'm guessing this side is going to be just as bad. So, bear with me. Let's take this apart and see what we've got. Oop, drop the screw. Where'd it go? Where did you go? There you are. Okay, give this a tap. There we go. Okay, that one's clean again, which is good. This one, I'm guessing, is going to be just as bad as the other side. So we're going to have to give it some real TLC. And just pop that. Oh, okay, so this one's clean, or cleanish. So when you consider the gunk that was in this side, we don't have it in this side. So that's impressive and confusing, because you would think it would be the same. This side's obviously let in some serious debris and gunk. You can see the little valve on there that gets opened and closed. So I wonder why that's got such a lot of debris in one side and not the other. See if I can pop that spring out of its holder. Maybe not. It's rusted in there solid. So if you look on this side, the spring is just sitting in the holder there. In this side, oops. In this side, it's actually rusted to it. So I think for now, let's just peel the whole thing off, get it out of the way. And you can see there's still debris inside there where it's got past the rubber there. So we will give that all a real good clean out. Okay, so just going to blow that side out as well. Okay, right, back to it. And you can see my board here. Gave it a lick of paint earlier, so it was easier to see what I'm doing on the, not losing parts, but the fuel is actually melting the paint. It's not had long enough to harden. Right, okay, next step. Question is, do we take the butterflies off? Is there any need to? Oh, what are we going to achieve by doing that? So the butterflies are moving cleanly. There are seals and things in here that we could replace. I've not had any issues with those, so I don't know whether or not we should even attempt to start taking that apart. It's the fuel on the top side here that's been my concern. And I'm a lot more confident now we've seen how much clearer it is. So I think what I'm going to do is just blow these air channels out, fuel channels out. This is where our jets came through, if you remember. We'll give it a good clean up, and then we'll have a look at what we need to replace to get it back together with what we've taken apart, specifically with these parts here, because this is in really bad condition. Okay. All right, let's have a look in the kit then and see what we've got that we can rebuild this with. I'll just carefully open that up. And these things are usually filled with parts and components, so we don't want anything to go flying. And I can see straight away this is not the kit for this carb. Great. This is 70329 Renew kit. It's not the right kit. So let's package this back up. We'll reorder a new kit, and then we'll continue the rebuild. Okay, so I just want to show you, you see the number there on the top of our carb. So this is on the top section that obviously sat on top here. That's our model number just there. Don't be confused by the number that's stamped on the side of the carburetor just there. That's not the model number. This one is. This is the one that you need when you're reordering your parts.